Hello everyone, hope you all are well and good. So the next chapter of NCRT, that is the fundamentals of physical geography. The next chapter we have is interior of the earth. The interior of the earth actually impacts the physiography of earth, and that physiography will ultimately impact the humans, because the physiography will lead to the impact on climate, drainage, and all these things, rainfall, all these things will ultimately impact the human life. So starting with the interior of the earth, first we need to know that how did we get to know, what were the sources to know the interior of the earth. As it is already said and as it is written in NCRT, that the radius of the earth is around 6370 kilometers. Radius 6370 kilometers. So how did we get to know what were the sources? What were the sources to know what is inside of the earth? Because for a human being to go inside the earth is not possible, because as we will move inside the earth, as we will move towards the center of the earth, the temperature will keep on increasing. So sources we have are direct sources and indirect sources. The first direct source we have is mining. Now mining, which can be done for almost 3 to 4 kilometers, as it has been done in Africa continent, the gold mining. So it can be done cannot be done more than, we cannot go deep more than 3 to 4 kilometers. The reason is the temperature will keep on increasing, and this increasing temperature is not favorable to humans. Next, we can do drilling. Now drilling, the maximum drilling we have done till now is of 12 kilometers. 12 kilometers. Deep oceanic drilling we can do. We can do deep oceanic drilling, but it is not more than 12 kilometers. We cannot do it more than 12 kilometers. So it is not much helpful for us. The next direct source is meteoroids. Meteorites are those rocky portion, those rocky objects which falls on the surface of the earth. I hope you all might know meteoroids. If you don't know, you can check my another video of a physical geography, where I will be discussing the difference between the asteroids, meteorites, meteors and meteorites. So the rocky objects which fall on the surface of the earth are meteoroids. Now how they can be the direct sources? As we have already discussed in the first chapter, that is the Big Bang Theory. In that chapter we have discussed the Big Bang Theory, and as per the Big Bang Theory, all the solar system or whole of the universe has come out of a tiny ball or a single atom. So considering that theory to be true, meteorites may help us to know what is actually inside the earth, but meteorites cannot be a reliable source, a much reliable source. So we shifted towards indirect sources. Now what are the indirect sources? Gravitational force or gravitation. How gravitation? Gravitation is because the the density of material in the earth will ultimately result to the gravitation. The more the density, the more will be the gravity. Now as the density at poles is much less, it much less, the reason is much more, because if we see the shape of the earth, that is geoid. Geoid means it is flat at the poles and there is a bulge at the equator. So due to this radius, as this radius is much less than this radius, so the density over this region, in this region, is much more, and the gravity felt on the poles is more than the gravity felt at the equator. So this gravity, this mass differentiation, see, this is the differentiation of mass. Over here the mass is more, the density of the mass is more, and over here the density of mass is less. This is what we call as gravity anomaly, as written in the NCERT. This mass differentiation helps in the study of gravitation. This is what we call gravity anomaly. The next indirect source we have is magnetic field. The magnetic minerals present in the earth help us to know the variety of material do we have. The region where have a good where the earth has a good amount of metallic minerals, magnetic minerals, it helps us to tell what is the actual, means what type of variety do we have. The third is seismic waves. Seismic waves. We will study the seismic waves in detail in this chapter. These are the sources. This is an important source. The seismic waves are an important source or important indirect source through which we have got to know what is actually inside the earth. What are the seismic waves? Seismic waves are of two types basically. The one is body waves and the one are surface waves. The seismic waves are responsible for causing earthquake. Now, how earthquake can be caused? How these waves can be released? As written in the NCERT, there are rocks inside the earth. Now, these rocks may have a fault. Fault means crack. A fault means crack. In geography, we say crack को हम fault कहते हैं geography की language. So at this fault, there can be these rocks may be moving apart from each other, or these rocks may be moving towards each other at this fault. Now, what are these rocks? What are these rocks called? इसको हम अगले वाले next chapter, we will study them in next chapter in detail. For the time being, understand for it now कि यहाँ पर एक rocks है और ये rocks अगर दूर जा रहे हैं या पास आ रहे हैं, तो इनसे इस fault वाले region में, इस crack में एक vibration generate होगी. That vibration it will be in the terms of seismic waves. Now, seismic waves. So this is the point of origin of the earthquake, from where the seismic waves have started. The waves will travel in all the directions. Say this is the surface of the earth. This is the surface of the earth. As they are traveling in the body of the earth, they are known as body waves. and also they are traveling in all the directions. After reaching on the surface, they travel on the surface. As these waves turns to travel on the surface, so they are known as surface waves. The waves traveling along the surface of the earth are known as surface waves. The waves traveling inside the earth are known as body waves. Simple. The point of origin from where the surface waves have started, the body waves have started, is known as focus or hypocenter. And the point nearest to focus on the surface, what is it? The point nearest to the focus on the surface is what we call as epicenter. The surface waves are the waves which we actually feel. Although the earthquake is coming every minute. The body waves are felt every minute, but their magnitude is low. It is low, so that's why we are not able to feel it. Though the earthquake, only we are able to feel only the earthquake which are more than magnitude, which are of magnitude more than 2, 3, or 4. The surface waves are the waves which actually destruct the buildings. ये surface waves ही हैं जो ultimately हम पर impact डालती हैं, जो destruction करती हैं. Now, if the question is asked, which of these are the disastrous waves, or which of these are responsible for the disaster? So the answer is surface waves are responsible for the disaster. Now, to measure the earthquake, we have an instrument known as seismograph. It is an instrument to measure the earthquake. What is the scale to measure the earthquake? Richter scale. It helps to measure the magnitude of the earthquake, and we have a scale from 0 to 10. There is another scale known as Mercalli scale. This Mercalli scale helps to measure the intensity of the earthquake. Now, what is intensity? To actually know that what is the impact which we can see, like the intensity of the earthquake was much more that even a building, houses, trees fell down. Now there's another intensity. There was another earthquake whose intensity was not much more, but not more than a tree fell down. एक पेड़ गिरा सर, एक पेड़ गिर गया, या एक यू कैन से एक पोल गिर गया, उसकी इंटेंसिटी बहुत कम थी. इंटेंसिटी मींस जो हम अपनी आंखों से उसका इफेक्ट देख सकते हैं, विच वी कैन फील कि एक 50 लोगों का मरना, एक 100 लोगों का मरना, there's a difference. एक 10 लोगों का मरना, एक 150 लोगों का मरना, there's a difference. So the intensity of that earthquake will be more, जिसमें 150 लोग मरे, 150 people have died. So this intensity can be measured from a scale on 1 to 12. Remember this. Mercalli scale is used to measure the intensity की कितनी intensity से है, तो उसका क्या impact आया था जो हम अपनी आंखों से देख सकते हैं. We cannot see the magnitude नहीं देख सकते हम. We cannot see the magnitude, कितने magnitude से आया था earthquake. We can only see the intensity. What was the impact? Next we have is body waves. Body waves are further of two types. The one are E waves and the one are S waves. P stands for primary, S stands for secondary. There is a reason behind their name. Actually, the P waves are much faster than S waves. Point number one. P waves are much faster than S waves. Hence, they will be recorded. If they are faster, then they will be recorded first on the seismograph, and they will be recorded later after the S wave, after the P waves. S waves will be recorded after the P waves as they are faster. Another property is that S waves are like S waves can travel from all the means they can travel from solid, they can travel from liquid, and they can travel from gaseous means. But the S wave can travel only from the solid material. This is an important point. S waves can travel from the three mediums. The one is gas, the one is liquid, and the other is solid. But S wave can travel only from the solid material. Why I am repeating this point? The reason is that this property of S waves actually helped us to know what is inside the earth, whether it is solid, semi-solid, or liquid inside the earth. So this property of S waves and P waves help us to know the what is inside the earth. Now, S wave travels. Say the S wave is traveling in this direction. The P wave is traveling in this direction, and this is the medium. Say P wave is traveling in this direction, and this is the medium. Listen to me carefully. And I can say that the propagation is in this direction. The propagation means in which direction it is spreading. The movement is in this direction, and the vibration will also be caused in this direction only. How? Because the P waves travel in the form of contraction, relaxation, contraction, relaxation, contraction, relaxation. The direction of propagation is this. The vibration is also in the form is in this direction. जो वाइब्रेशन हो रही है वो भी इस तरह हो रही है, और जो प्रोपोगेशन हो रहा है वो भी इस तरह हो रही है. So it is said that the vibration is parallel to the propagation. In P waves, this vibration is parallel to the propagation. What about S waves and the other three waves, the S waves and other surface waves? Actually, the vibration is perpendicular to the direction of propagation. It is perpendicular to the direction of propagation. We don't need to discuss actually how S waves travel or how surface waves travel. It will be covered in the physical geography in my other video. But for NCERT, we don't need to actually know how all these three waves travel. We only need to know is that the S waves and the other surface waves, इनकी जो वाइब्रेशन है that will be perpendicular to the direction in which they are propagating. Propagating means move करने. So this is the property of P waves and S waves. Remember, they are faster and they can travel from all the three mediums. S waves can travel only from the solid medium. Next. Next we have shadow zone. What is the shadow zone? Now, shadow zone is something where the P waves or the S waves are not experienced or felt. Say this is the core. This is the core. And this is the other part. What is the other part? We'll be discussing in the next topic. P waves are released from here. P waves are released from here. Now, as the material inside the earth is somewhere it is solid, somewhere it is liquid, somewhere it is semi-solid. So due to this variation, also while traveling through the medium, usually the waves refract. Refraction is caused. Usually the waves refract. Refract is refraction. We have already discussed. You might have read in the earlier classes. Refraction क्या होता है? So due to refraction, the waves will travel in such a way. Say the P waves will travel. It has been refracted. And as the core has, the outer core which will be discussed in the next topic, it has a liquid material, so it will refract more. This is how they refract. So the P waves are not filled beyond 103 degrees and between 142 degrees. So this is the shadow zone of P waves. Means in this region, the P waves are not filled. This is the shadow zone of P waves. Shadow zone of P waves means if the source of the P waves is this, then beyond 103 degree, between 103 to 142 degree, it will not be felt. On the other hand, if we talk about S waves, now S waves, as they travel only from the solid material, so they will not be able to travel from core. Hence, they will refract. As they will not be able to travel from core due to the presence of liquid material in core. Remember this point. As there is the presence of liquid material in the core, so hence they will refract till 103 degree. Hence, the S waves are not experienced beyond 103 degrees. So it can be said that the shadow zone of the S waves is much broader than the shadow zone of P waves. Next. Next is actually what we studied through the help of S waves. Now I am putting that study in front of you. Say this is a 3D diagram of Earth. 3D diagram we have extracted a part, like when we I hope all of you might have gone to buy a watermelon. So while buying a watermelon, they extract out the 3D piece. So imagine that this is the same 3D piece of the Earth. We have crust, the solid material. We have mantle, and this mantle is actually divided into two parts. This mantle is actually divided into two parts. The upper part, which is the semi-solid, is known as upper mantle, and this is known as lower mantle. This is core of the earth. However, the core has been further divided, but we usually study in the we will study in the physical geography. We will not study here because that's not given in the NCERT. So the crust is a solid, as we all know, on which we are residing. Upper mantle is a semi-solid. Lower mantle is again solid, and a part of core is liquid, and the other part of core is solid. Means the core is divided into further two parts. This is the outer core and this is the inner core. The outer core is liquid, the inner core is solid. The length of the crust can be of two types. It can be continental crust, the landmass. It can be oceanic crust, this water body part. The depth of the crust may vary, as the oceanic crust is much thinner and the continental crust is much thicker. So continental crust may be till around 30 to 35 kilometers. Say I am taking it as 30 kilometer. The oceanic crust can be of 5 kilometer. Now this crust can be found of 70 kilometer also, if that region has mountains. So we don't need to remember the depth. It is just to get an idea. This is the upper mantle. Upper mantle is the semi-solid material. It is also known as asthenosphere. Astheno means weak. Semi-solid, weak. Actually, the asthenosphere is the main source of magma. It is the main source of magma. The volcanoes we see over here, the source of that magma coming out of this volcano is this, which is till around 400 kilometers. And the lower mantle, the region where lower mantle ends and the outer core starts, that is at 2900 kilometer, and outer core and inner core meets at 5100 kilometer. Over here we have 6370 or 6375, as per some sources it is 6375 kilometer. The crust and upper part of mantle, the crust and some upper part of upper mantle is known as lithosphere. And in core we find some minerals like Nephe. Nephe means nickel plus iron. So this is what has been given in NCERT. Though we discussed this diagram in much detail, but we will not be discussing over here. You can refer my another video of physical geography part, the playlist of physical geography, where you will get to know much more detail about this part. Next. Next we have is volcano and volcanic landforms. Volcano and volcanic landforms. We all know what a volcano is. We are well aware of what volcano is. So I think I don't need to describe actually what volcano is. It is a region, it is actually a fault. You can say it is a fault from where the magma comes out and it becomes lava. We all know there is a vent in. Normally we all have read that this is the fault. This is the fault of the magma is coming out and it has formed like a mountain. So this is what we call volcano. Now volcanic landforms. Volcanic landforms can be of two types. These landforms can be formed on the surface of the earth, and these landforms can be formed inside the surface, interior of the surface, or you can say inside the crust. So volcanic landforms are of two types. The one are extrusive and the other is intrusive. The name is itself defining it, that extrusive means on the surface of the earth and extrusive means inside the surface of the earth. In extrusive, we have first is the shield volcano. Why it is called a shield volcano? Why it is called a shield volcano? The reason is when we will observe it from the top, while sitting on the chopper, it will look like a shield to us. Now, what are the properties of the shield volcano? Very easy to remember. Shield volcano is the type of volcano which are extensive. Means they cover a very large part, a very large area. The reason they are extensive is that they have a lava. There are two types of lava. We will not discuss over here. There are two types of lava. I'm giving just a gist of it. There are two types of lava. The one who has a more fluidity. Fluidity means it has a ability to move far off places. Means it can travel to far off places. Say I am comparing water and honey. Now, if water will fall on the floor, it will cover most of the part. It will cover much area. If honey will fall on the floor, it will not cover much area. So the fluidity of water is more than the fluidity of honey. There's another word used in NCERT, that is viscous. Viscous means resistance to flow. So the honey will resist to flow. It means the honey is highly viscous. And whereas the water is less viscous. So in shield volcano we have the lava which has more fluidity. More fluidity means less viscous. So due to more fluidity, it covers a large part. Hence it is extensive. Now see, all these features are somewhere connected. More fluidity, it will be extensive, cover the large area, and shield volcano are the volcanoes which cover out of their types, which covers most of the area. Also, if they will cover the large area, then it is obvious that their slope will be gentle. Means if they will cover the large area, so this slope will not be much steep, it will be gentle. Gentle means कि वो ज़्यादा उसकी ऊंचाई ज़्यादा नहीं होगी, वो gentle सा slope होगा. और जब slope gentle होगा तो obvious सी बात है उसकी height कम नहीं होगी तो ही slope gentle होगा. अगर उसकी height कम होगी because वो पहले ही फैल चुका है इतना, तो उसका slope भी क्या होगा. So these are the properties of shield volcano. Now other they have given a cinder cone volcano. Cinder cone volcano is a type of volcano which consists of more of cinder. Cinder means fragmented rocks. छोटे छोटे पत्थर जो हैं, छोटे छोटे पत्थर को मैं क्या कह रहा हूँ, सिंडर, तो वो उसमें हमारे पास सिंडर में क्या होगा कि छोटे छोटे पत्थरों से ज्यादा बना होगा, उसमें लावा बहुत कम होगा. द मैग्मा और लावा विल बी लेस इन द सिंडर कॉन वोल्केनो, एंड हेंस also as they will have the rock fragments together will cause more friction, and more friction will means highly explosive. So this cinder cone volcano is highly explosive. Next we have is flood basalt province. Flood basalt province. Flood basalt province. Flood means you all know what is flood. basalt का flood आया है. basalt के flood आने से जो पूरा region cover हो गया, province cover हो गया, पूरा province है जो larger part of area has been covered. So that is flood basalt province. Again, the material, the magma in this flood basalt province is actually this more fluid. The material is more fluid, and also the source from which it comes. Say shield volcano has a single source, has a single fault. यहाँ पर सिर्फ एक ही fault होगा जिसमें से magma आ रहा है. But in flood basalt province we will have lot of sources. Say this is the surface, hence it has covered a larger part. So flood basalt province बहुत बड़ा region cover हुआ है. Region क्यों cover हो गया? The reason is that the sources are more, also the material is fluid. In NCERT a good example is given, that is known as a Deccan Trap. We will study this Deccan Trap. This Deccan Trap lies in India. This is the region of Maharashtra plateau. In Maharashtra and Gujarat we will find this Deccan Trap. We will also study in physical geography how this Deccan Trap has been formed, or Indian geography, sorry, how this Deccan Trap has been formed. For now you will have to just remember the example. The Deccan Trap in the region where we have Ajanta and Ellora caves, वो वाला part, Deccan Trap. Next we have the next extrusive landform. The one is shield, cinder, flood basalt province, and the other is mid-oceanic. Yes, mid-oceanic ridge. Mid-oceanic ridge. See, ridge is something. So this is a range of mountains. This part will be the ridge. This is the ridge. How? Say this is the mountain. This is the mountain. This upper part is actually the ridge. Now this ridge, this top point, on the one side we have slope, and also on the both side we have slope. दोनों साइड पे slopes हैं. So this upper portion is the ridge. So in ocean, specifically in Atlantic Ocean, we have this landform mid-oceanic ridge. Actually, in Atlantic Ocean, there is a fault. And from fault, the magma is coming out. So a ridge of around 70,000 kilometers has been formed in Atlantic Ocean. We will in detail study in the physical geography. So 70,000 लंबी एक इस तरह से पूरी रेंज बनी हुई है मिड अटलांटिक ओशन के अंदर, ड्यू टू अ फॉल्ट, ड्यू टू अ क्रैक, एंड फ्रॉम दैट क्रैक द मैग्मा इज कमिंग आउट. So these are some of the types of extrusive landforms which have been mentioned in NCERT. Next, intrusive landforms. Now sometimes it happens that due to the crack inside the earth, interior of the earth, due to the crack interior of the earth, it happens that the rocks or the magma may solidify in interior of the earth only. in the crust only. Now, in extrusive landforms, the magma or the lava was solidifying above the surface. If the magma or lava solidifies below the surface, means inside the crust, then it will form intrusive landforms. The rocks formed in extrusive landforms, they will be called as volcanic rocks. If the rocks are solidifying on the surface, then it is a volcanic rock. If thus this solidification is taking place inside of the earth, then they will be called plutonic rocks. So here in intrusive landform we will be talking about these plutonic rocks, these intrusive landforms. Say this is a dome inside the earth. This is the surface. This dome, or actually a source of the main source, will be a asthenosphere only. And for this region, the source is this, and this source, after due to discontinuation of supply from the asthenosphere, this part solidifies. A big dome-shaped structure solidifies. This big dome-shaped structure will be called as batholith. Now, the magma was traveling through this vent or through these pipes, and a structure like this has been formed, and it has solidified in this way. It will be called sheet or sill. The difference between sheet and sill is that sheet will be much thicker, sill will be thinner in comparison to each other. Now, it may solidify in this form also. The lava or magma may solidify in this form also. It will be called as laccolith. If the magma or lava solidifies in this way, it will be called as laccolith. And if the lava solidifies in the vertical, if the lava solidifies vertically, it will be known as dike. So these are some of the intrusive landforms. The one is sheet or sill, means the lava has solidified in an horizontal form. A dome-shaped structure, a big dome-shaped structure, that is batholith. If the lava solidifies vertically, dike. If the lava solidifies in convex form, laccolith. If the lava solidifies in concave form, then it is laccolith. So this was all about interior of the earth. Thank you.